Hi guys, and welcome back. Today we're going to do our final video on our project F10 M5, which we dubbed the Great White. This car has had an emotional roller coaster with us. We've seen it all the way from stock, all the way going to VMAX and cracking that 200 mile an hour on stock turbos, stock ECU without methanol. So it's a bit of an emotional one for us. Obviously this has now been replaced with the F90 M5, so this is my chance to give you my final thoughts on this car and give you a little bit of a comparison with the F90. Now that's not quite a fair comparison because the price difference between the cars is massive. I don't think anyone who's looking to buy a new car is going to have either the F90 or the F10 in their sights at the same time because of the price difference. But I think anyone who's got an F10 M5 who's possibly looking to upgrade to an F90 M5, they'd be interested to know if the price difference is worth it and whether they should wait a little while maybe to see if the values come down a little bit on the F90 and then if it's ready to make the jump. So yeah, let's start the car and then go for a drive. Music's a bit loud there. Just sent Matt to fill the car up, so he's been blasting the tunes obviously. The first thing I will say about this car is that I used it for absolutely everything. I used it to do the school run with my kids. I used it to go to Europe. I used it at Santa Pod and a quarter mile, although I don't really rate these as quarter mile cars because they're so difficult to launch. And if you change the tires enough that you get grip, then you start breaking things like drive shafts and banding clutches and doing gearboxes over, as we know from some of our customers' escapades. So yeah, I mean, I remember going to VMAX on the weekend, racing some hypercars, and then on the Monday, still with the VMAX stickers on because I hadn't taken them off, dropping the kids off to school. So as an all-round car, it's amazing. It's really easy to drive around town. It's like the car that I could give to my dad or even my wife and they could drive it around and not even know it's got that much power unless they put their foot down. In D, you can just cruise along, and for long journeys it's really, really comfortable. I mean, I've done like 2,000 miles in one go in this car going over to Europe, and you don't feel tired after you've finished the journey, which is a testament to the car. And then when you want, you put your foot down and it just wants to go. Now the one thing that slightly let the car down if you wanted to drive it a bit harder is the handling, I think, in my opinion, but then it is a big car. So we addressed that by fitting the KW Has kit, and if you update the damper software to the competition pack, that actually makes a huge difference as well in the way the car rides. So that's a package that we've been doing for customers for a little while now, and they're really impressed with it. So you basically fit the KW Has kit and then the anti-roll bars from the competition pack, and then load the software from the competition pack, and it sharpens the car up a lot. Makes it feel smaller almost, so it has a lot less body roll than the stock car. And I mean, these cars at the moment, they're amazing value. You're talking about, getting a really good one for around 25 to 30k, maybe even less now. And for the amount of performance you can extract from them with just a simple remap. So I mean, at the moment this car's running a stage 1 map, so you can watch the videos of us running stage 1 against like a Ferrari 458 Speciale and beating that. So that was the kind of first outing we had in it. So it's running around 700 horsepower and around 640 foot-pound of torque. So obviously the major difference between this and the F90 is that the fact the F90 has switchable four-wheel drive. This is two-wheel drive. This has a DCT gearbox, where the F90 has the normal ZF Auto, and that's the biggest difference between them, I think. And the fact that F90 does handle out of the box, it does handle a bit better, but you can do some tweaks to the F10 to get it to handle pretty well. But what you can't get the F10 to do, even in stock form, is have a decent level of grip, like in all conditions. I mean, even stock, the F10 M5 does have traction issues, and that can be addressed by, so that most of the cars come with super sport tyres from Michelin, but if you fit the Pilot Sport 4S's, I found that makes a huge difference. So that's what this car is currently fitted with, and I noticed a huge difference changing between the super sports and the Pilot Sport 4S's. They have much better wet grip, and in the dry as well, when they're up to a good temperature, that they're amazing. You can really tell the difference, whereas I couldn't get grip in third gear before I can with the 4S's. In regards to the gearbox, I would say the DCT is ever so slightly sharper than the ZF, which you would expect, but if I'm being completely honest, I don't miss the DCT in the F90 M5. Kind of makes up for it in other areas. I know a lot of people are complaining and saying, well, it's kind of too soft and slushy, but yeah, I can see their point. But I think with the four-wheel drive and the level of grip it has, I think it makes up for it. The other stark difference between the cars is the level of interior. In the F90, the interior game is just, it's amazing compared to the F10. The F10 almost looks basic and Spartan compared to the F90. Obviously the displays are not up to date either in this, but they're functional. They're BMW. BMW have only moved to LCD like Audi have, like on this generation of cars, so that part doesn't bother me too much. I actually like kind of the analog dials, but I know they have to move with the times. But that's the thing with this car, even on the Autobahn you can cruise at like 100 and whatever you want, and it just feels comfortable and secure and stable. So at the moment I think these cars are absolutely amazing value. Even if you don't modify it, you leave it stock, it's just a really good all-round family car that when you want to go fast it can deliver, and just with a few tweaks it can be an absolutely amazing car. Now, I said I would talk about the, you know, whether it's worth the upgrade to the F90 M5, and I think that yes, if you have the money, yeah, it is worth the upgrade. But I know a lot of people with the F10s are going to wait for maybe 2 years until the prices of the F90 come down to make it a bit more of a value prospect, which I can completely understand. But what I would say is that yeah, if you do have the funds to get the F90 M5, I don't think you'd be disappointed if you had an F10 before. It's basically a very similar car, but it's just improved in all aspects, apart from arguably the gearbox. But as I said before, I'm quite happy with the ZF. I don't mind it too much. But for me, I guess it's a bit different. I don't see it as a B-road blaster, and I have other cars for that. So whether that kind of comes into play or not, I'm not sure with other people. I mean, looks wise, it's always going to be subjective. The F10, I still, in my opinion, doesn't look dated. I think it's a really nice design from BMW, and it's one of the few cars that when it came out, I liked the design straight away. When the E60 came out, I didn't like the design, and it took me a little while to get used to it. But the F10 M5 proportions are really nice, and it's the same with the F90. I think that's just an evolution of the design rather than a revolution, so it's very easy on the eye and easy to get used to. Although in typical BMW fashion with both cars, they have made it such that you kind of need to add either the BMW M Performance parts or some aftermarket carbon aero just to make it suit the nature of the car a little bit better, because it is a sporty car at the same time. So sound wise, this is back to stock now, and it's very muted. I mean, the engine makes a nice kind of tone, but the car itself is muted. And when we had it fully modified, it did have a set of downpipes and a super split rear exhaust, which really brought out the V8 noise. On the F90 M5 we optioned the M Sport exhaust straight away, and it actually sounds really, really good. I haven't had too much time in a stock F90 M5 to compare the sound, but just with the Sport exhaust option it sounds really great. In terms of build quality, the F10 is actually very well built. The E60, in my opinion, wasn't built as well as the E39 M5, and for me the F10 M5 was a bit more like the E39 M5 in spirit, in the terms that the build quality was really good, and it also had torque as well. The E39 M5 had a lot of torque. The E60 M5 had less, or felt like it had less, because you had to rev the car to get more out of it. So for me, this was kind of a return to the days of the E39 M5, and it felt spiritually like that. The F90 M5 again is up the game in every aspect like that in terms of build quality. So far it seems very, very well put together. We'll obviously have to see with a test of time how that stands up, but our F10 is on like 56,000 miles now, and it still feels pretty solid. It's got hardly any sort of creaks and rattles. In terms of issues we've had with the car, it's actually been very, very reliable for us. Even though we've driven it fairly hard, we've had to replace one mechatronics unit, and then the clutches are very reliable on stock power and stage 1. It's only when you start pushing them a little bit further than the normal stage 2 then you start getting some slip on them in most cases. And apart from that, we've just done kind of normal maintenance. We've replaced the spark plugs regularly. We've also changed, so this is actually still on its original core packs as well, believe it or not, which is quite good. We've given it more than regular oil changes as well, just to make sure everything's up to date. And also it's we changed both the maps as well, because they went at some point, I think around 50,000 miles we had to replace those. So overall, I think for the amount of performance the car gives, it's actually been very reliable for us. So guys, I've given you my impressions about driving the F10 again, a bit of reminiscing. We've been through a lot with this car since we bought it in 2015. We've taken it from stock all the way up to 800 horsepower. We've raced Pagani Huayras and hypercars like that at VMAX and kept up with them and beaten a lot of them as well. With the F90 M5, it is definitely an evolution of this platform. As you know, it uses the same engine. It uses a ZF gearbox instead of the DCT, which is a plus point I think for the F10 M5. I think the DCT is slightly sharper. Also, I'm currently preferring the looks of the F10 over the F90, but as with any new BMW design, it does take a while for you to get used to the design language that they use, and it kind of grows on you. The other thing the F90 has over the F10, I think, is the interior. It's a huge step up from the F10. The F10 is quite basic compared to the F90, and obviously as the F90 with the switchable four-wheel drive, the grip is on another level to the F10 M5. This was always an issue with this car, whether it was stock or tuned. The conditions had to be perfect for you to use all the power, whereas in the F90 you can use the power almost all the time. I mean, I've driven it in damp conditions and still felt very comfortable overtaking other cars. In this, you really have to think about what you're going to do. Handling wise as well, the F90 is a huge step up. The competition pack does address some of the issues in this car, but I don't think a competition pack F10 is as good as a stock F90, and I look forward to testing the competition pack F90 to see how much of a difference that actually makes. So with that in mind, it's farewell to the F10, which we dubbed the Great White. It's been a great car for me personally, for my family, and for the company and what we've achieved with it. But time moves on and you have to kind of go with the progression, and the F90 is that progression. Thank you so much for watching, guys. If you'd like to watch more of this project, you can do so over here. If you'd like to watch what YouTube suggests you might like from our other videos, you can watch that over here. If you like this video, please click on the thumbs up. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel. If you guys have any questions, please drop them in the comment section and we'll do our best to answer them for you.